Hey everyone, and welcome back for another deep dive. Today we're taking a look at Bitcoin.
Oh, yeah.
One of the most talked about
Absolutely.
and debated technologies in recent years. It's been called a revelation,
Uh-huh.
a bubble, digital gold.
A scam.
Yeah, all of the above.
So today we're going to break it all down. We're going to try to figure out what Bitcoin is, how it works, and why it matters.
Yeah, and I think a good place to start is with its origins.
Okay.
Bitcoin was created in 2009 by this mysterious figure or group of people known as Satoshi Nakamoto.
Okay, so right off the bat, we have this big mystery.
Yeah.
No one knows who Satoshi is.
Uh-huh.
So what do we know about the early days of Bitcoin, and what was it originally intended for?
Well, it was originally intended to be this peer-to-peer electronic cash system.
Okay.
It was described as a way to make online payments directly between people without having to go through a bank or any other third party.
So kind of like cutting out the middleman? Exactly. And this was really appealing to a lot of people who were distrustful of banks and governments.
Okay, that makes sense.
Especially in the wake of the 2008 financial crisis.
So we have this mysterious creator and this idea of cutting out the middleman. So help me understand what exactly IS Bitcoin. I mean, we keep hearing these terms like cryptocurrency and blockchain, but how is it different from the money that I use every day?
So Bitcoin is a digital currency, but it's different from the digital money you have in your bank account.
Okay.
The money in your bank account is essentially just an IOU from your bank.
Oh.
But Bitcoin is decentralized.
Okay.
It doesn't rely on banks, governments, or any central authority to function.
Okay, so no one's really in charge.
Exactly. It's controlled by a distributed network of computers all over the world.
Okay, so no one's in charge.
Yeah.
Then how do we know it's secure? How do we know it's not just going to disappear one day?
That's where the blockchain comes in.
Okay, so explain this to me like I'm 5 because I feel like I'm 5 right now.
All right, so imagine a shared Google Doc that everyone can see and add to, but no one can delete or change what's already been written.
I'm with you.
That's kind of like the blockchain.
Okay.
It's a public ledger that records every single Bitcoin transaction across a vast network of computers.
Oh, so every transaction's recorded publicly?
Yes, and this makes it incredibly transparent and virtually tamper-proof.
Okay, so it's like this permanent record.
Exactly.
Okay, well, that's pretty cool. So we talked about how it's decentralized. We talked about the blockchain. What are some of the other key features that make Bitcoin unique?
Well, we already touched on decentralization, which means there's no single point of control.
Right.
Then you have scarcity.
Okay.
Unlike fiat currencies, which governments can print more of at will, Bitcoin has a fixed supply capped at 21 million coins.
Okay.
This built-in scarcity is actually one of the things that gets people comparing it to gold.
Interesting, because gold is also a finite resource.
Exactly. And that's historically why gold has held its value.
So it's playing on this idea of scarcity makes it valuable.
Exactly.
Okay, I like it. I like it. And then also, I mean, we talked about the blockchain, but the transparency.
Yes.
The fact that all transactions are publicly recorded.
Right. It makes it very difficult to hide or manipulate transactions.
Okay.
And then, of course, security Bitcoin uses cryptography to secure transactions and prevent fraud.
Okay, so it's this complex system that makes it secure and transparent.
Yeah.
And it's hard to argue that. So let's walk through how a Bitcoin transaction actually works.
All right, so let's say you want to send some Bitcoin to a friend.
Okay.
That transaction gets broadcast to the network of Bitcoin miners.
Okay.
These miners then use their computers to solve complex math problems in order to verify and add your transaction to the blockchain.
Okay.
This process is called mining.
Mining.
And it's how new Bitcoins are created.
So the miners are kind of like the record keepers?
Yes, exactly. They're the ones who are maintaining the blockchain.
Okay, and they get rewarded for doing this?
Exactly. They get rewarded with Bitcoin.
That makes sense.
Okay.
Okay, so I want to get some of this Bitcoin. What do I do?
Well, first you need a digital wallet.
Okay.
Think of it like a virtual bank account, but specifically designed to hold your Bitcoin.
Okay.
You can have software wallets that live on your phone or computer, or hardware wallets, which are physical devices that offer an extra layer of security.
Okay, so you're telling me I need to go out and buy a special thing.
Well, it depends on how much Bitcoin you're planning to store.
Okay.
If it's just a small amount, a software wallet on your phone might be sufficient.
Right. All right, so let's talk about why people are so excited about Bitcoin.
Okay.
What are some of the advantages of using Bitcoin over traditional currencies?
Well, one of the biggest advantages is financial inclusion.
Okay.
Bitcoin can provide access to financial services for people who are unbanked.
So people in developing countries or places where traditional banking isn't really an option.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Bitcoin can also be much faster and cheaper than traditional methods.
Especially for international payments.
Yes, because you're cutting out the middleman.
Right.
Those bank fees and processing times can be significantly reduced.
Okay, and I imagine it's also pretty resistant to censorship.
That's right, because Bitcoin is decentralized.
Yeah.
No single government or institution can control it.
Okay, so it's this kind of like freedom currency.
You could say that.
Okay, I like that. I like that. Are there any other advantages?
Well, some people believe that Bitcoin could be a hedge against inflation
Okay,
because its supply is fixed.
right.
It can't be devalued by governments printing more money.
Okay, so it's like a store of value.
Yes, some people even call it digital gold.
Okay, so there's a lot to like about Bitcoin. But let's be real. I mean, every new technology has its challenges.
Of course.
So what are some of the challenges and criticisms facing Bitcoin?
Well, one of the biggest criticisms is its volatility.
Yeah,
The price of Bitcoin can fluctuate wildly.
and we've definitely seen that over the
Oh,
years.
yeah, and this makes it difficult to use as an everyday currency. Imagine going to the grocery store and finding out the price of bread has doubled overnight.
Yeah, that would not be fun. Another big concern that I hear about is the energy consumption.
Yeah, that's a valid concern. Bitcoin mining uses a lot of electricity, and this has raised concerns about its environmental impact.
Okay, so what are some of the other challenges?
Well, regulatory uncertainty is another big one.
What?
Governments are still figuring out how to regulate Bitcoin.
Right.
And this creates uncertainty for businesses and investors.
And then, of course, there's the issue of scalability.
Yeah, the Bitcoin network can only process a limited number of transactions per second. And this has led to some slowdowns and high fees during periods of high demand.
So it sounds like there are definitely some hurdles to overcome.
There are, but a lot of very smart people are working on solutions to these challenges.
So where do you see Bitcoin fitting into the future of finance? I mean, it really going to change the world?
I think it already is changing the world.
Okay.
It's forcing us to rethink how we think about money and finance. Whether it becomes this dominant global currency or not remains to be seen,
Right.
but it's definitely a force to be reckoned with.
Okay, so what are some of the potential ways that Bitcoin could impact the financial landscape in the coming years?
Well, some people believe that Bitcoin will eventually become a major asset class like digital gold,
Okay.
used primarily as a store of value.
So kind of like a safe haven asset?
Exactly. Others see it as the future of global payments,
Okay.
facilitating seamless and low-cost transactions across borders.
And we're already starting to see some businesses and even countries accepting Bitcoin as payment.
Right, and it's also playing a crucial role in the development of DeFi,
Okay.
decentralized finance,
Right.
which aims to create a more open and accessible financial system.
So it sounds like there's a lot of potential, a lot of different ways that this could play out.
A lot of potential for both good and bad.
Right.
It's really going to depend on how we as a society choose to use and regulate this technology.
So it's a powerful tool.
Yes,
And it's up to us to decide how we're going to use it.
exactly.
Well, this has been a fascinating deep dive. I feel like I've learned a lot, but I also feel like we've just scratched the surface.
Oh, yeah, there's so much more to explore.
So for our listeners out there who are intrigued by what we've talked about today, I encourage you to do your own research, keep learning, and keep asking questions.
What impact do you think Bitcoin will have on the future?
Yeah, what role do you want it to play in your life? These are big questions and there's no easy answers. But I think it's important that we all start thinking about them.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive. We'll see you next time for another fascinating exploration. Until then, keep diving deep.